Hey everybody, welcome back to Sunday Afternoon Smokes, your casual conversation podcast from the upstate of South Carolina, interviewing the local entrepreneurs, business professionals, and entertainers. My name is Chris. I'm your host. I'm a realtor. I'm also the owner and operator of the Cigar Box, a mobile cigar bar that serves the upstate and beyond. And if you've been enjoying SAS, which I just call it for short, drop me a review. I'd appreciate it. Today I have the joy of sitting down with Martine Helou-Allen. Said that right?
You said it perfectly.
Okay. Martine, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Absolutely. We got hooked up by my friend. I mean, I don't know how well you know James Caps.
Well, I know him because he started Parents Against Fentanyl.
Right.
And I met him through a mutual contact that told me about him. And we had a great meeting, him and his wife. And after they learned what we did, they're like, oh my gosh, we've got to introduce you to Chris.
Yeah.
So I was very thankful for that. And then they're going to also be partnering with us on some things too.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, James, he just reached out to me at random, a couple of years ago about making hats and stuff for my cigar business. And so that's how I met James, and we became friends. And he was like ground floor on the podcast. He was episode number 3.
Wow.
So, and here we are, episode 39.
Good for you.
So just kind of consistently plugging along. I think I might take a couple of weeks off because, well, the things that I explained to you before the podcast, I'm kind of worn out.
Okay.
Just take a couple of weeks off and then get back to it. But anyway, Martine, again, welcome to the show. I like to let my guests introduce themselves. Okay. So say as much or as little about yourself as you like, and then we'll jump into it.
All right. Well, Martine Helou-Allen. I am the founder and executive director of RIZE Prevention, spelled R-I-Z-E, all caps, RIZE Prevention. And, I founded this organization because of what I've been through in my life. I founded this organization because of what I've been through and what I have seen has helped me to rise above my circumstances. I was your quintessential at-risk kid. I've got 10 out of the 10 ACEs. And those are adverse childhood experiences that they say that puts you at risk. And so I founded RIZE as just to fulfill what I believe is my purpose on this planet.
Yeah.
And also to give the gift of just self-actualization, self-realization to so many people who need it and who really need to understand their identity and their purpose and live into that in a healthy way. So it's all about inspiration for me.
Sure.
And to try and help people be their best selves. I have a really varied background. So I've been on my own since I'm not even 16 years old, and I started as the youngest personal trainer ever in Greenville. So way back when on East North Street, when there used to be Gold's Gym, that's where I used to work. And I used to go to work and then go to high school and then go back to work after school was ended. And so that was my first business. And I stayed in that for a few years. And then, luckily I just worked really hard at school, knowing that I would never go to college without a scholarship. And I was able to earn a scholarship to Furman. And so while at Furman, I did waitressing and personal training and just a lot of different things. Got a great job in Japan to go be a business developer, sales director, if you would, for a Japanese company. Came back to New York, had a great a little music career stint there, and then went back to Lebanon, which is where I was born. So lived in Lebanon in the Middle East and specifically in the UAE for 7 years in my early childhood, and ended up going back to Lebanon and spent 10 years there. Had a great career over there, lots of transformation, and then came back to Greenville, kind of starting over again, but not really. And now I'm at RIZE.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool beans. Just an unimportant but curious question. Why the letter Z in RIZE instead of an S?
Well, because it's cool. And I had to do because I just did something different.
Sure.
And Z is such an attractive letter because you don't see it very often. It's kind of like putting the letter Y or X. It's it attracts attention. But I'm so glad that you asked that because the name RIZE, I originally did not make that name for this nonprofit. I made the name RIZE when I had my own band in New York. And when I was trying to make it as a musician and as an artist, and I just came up with with the word rise because I just thought it was neat, but also because I was desperate at that time to rise above my circumstances that I had been in. But what I didn't realize is that I was kept on making the same destructive decisions.
Yeah.
And that those same lifestyle decisions that were the reason why I was not able to rise above my circumstances. So the band never really worked. It was a great experience, though. Got some great songs out of it. But back in, June of 21, when I was like, I would like to really contemplate starting my own nonprofit, that's when the Lord told me, this is what I want you to use RIZE for. I want this to be about people rising above. And there you have it. It was never meant to be for the band.
Right.
It was meant to be for this purpose, to serve others.
That's really cool. That's a great story or account. I don't like the word story so much because it makes it sound, it just makes it sound fictional. Yeah. Like when somebody says, and I picked up on this from a guy I knew several years ago, but we're just talking about, all the quote unquote stories in the scriptures.
Yeah.
I prefer to call them accounts.
That's right.
Because it's not fiction. This is like history. This is the real McCoy. So I try and shy away from the word story. But that's a great account. We'll call it that.
Yes.
So we are once again recording from air-conditioned comfort. It is currently raining outside. Normally I'd be smoking a cigar, but heat advisory in effect. And, heat index said maybe certain areas 107, and that's just not good cigar smoking weather. You know what I mean? So we are recording from the kitchen table. Do you have any connection at all to cigars anywhere?
Well, I mean, Lebanese culture, they love cigars. And
really?
Oh, yes.
I thought,
yes.
Well, I mean, I know there's cigars all over, but whenever I think Middle East, I think hookah.
Well, you think hookah, but then the refined people who've had a lot of exposure to Europe and other countries, they prefer cigars, and there's big money.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of Lebanese women smoke cigars more in percentage-wise than American women.
Yeah, it's very small in America on a percentage scale. So a lot of female smokers in the Middle East when it comes to cigars. Now, so I would imagine, like you said, you went back and spent 10 years in Lebanon. Do you do hookah?
I did, yes.
I mean, maybe just like here and there, but not as a regular part of your life.
No, because there's so much there's no regulation of it there. And so you find a lot of people, especially when they start smoking very young, which is, maybe we'll segue into what I do with RIZE Prevention, which is drug and addiction prevention among teens.
Yeah.
Is that they start very early and they're not educated on the consequences of that. They're also not educated on the consequences of what can or cannot be.
Well, young teens aren't educated on much of anything.
Oh, honey, but they think they know it all. They know it all. And it's great to get in those kind of debates. But yes, there's a lot of that there. So I would just do it maybe on the weekends, you go and
hookah lounges and those kind of things.
Yes.
That sounds like, is there any like good hookah lounge here in the upstate?
I think there's only one where they have it is Habiba. Or what used to be.
I need to go check it out.
Which is on Haywood Road.
I did my first hookah when I was in Vegas in January at a big expo. It was like cigars and hookah and vape and all kinds of crazy stuff. And so I did some hookah there just for fun. I mean, and it's a totally different thing than a cigar because it's like it's a little bit of tobacco but a lot of water vapor.
That's right.
So it's very cool. It's not like it's not smoke. I mean, there might be just a little bit, but it's, I don't even know how to explain it.
Well, and it's certainly not like vaping. So there's been a huge misnomer that vaping is like a hookah and that it's water, and it's not.
Okay. I don't know anything about vaping.
Two totally different things. So yes, you're right. I mean, it's the actual water vapor that you are. But then you've got that tobacco that sits on the top, and then you put the charcoal on top of it.
Right.
After you put the aluminum foil over the top, you poke the holes in it. You set the piece of charcoal or two pieces of charcoal on top, depending on how strong you want it. And then it draws the heat into the tobacco. Taking that and then putting it into the bottom, which is where you have the water, and then the vapor comes out into the pipe that you then
and typically you would have like I guess that contraption, is that what it's called, the hookah
Yes.
thing? And then it'll have like 4 hoses on it, and it's like communal.
Well,
Not
yes,
that you share
some do.
mouthpieces,
Yes,
but
some do and some don't. So most of the time it's usually, I mean, at least in the Middle East, I think the maximum that we saw was like 2.
oh, okay.
Yes, but usually it is communal, and you're like, usually you have your own mouthpiece. So when it comes time to trade, you just put the other mouthpiece in.
Oh,
yes,
I see.
Yes, so that keeps you from having to use what somebody else has used.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, and I know, like, the Japanese businessmen are into the cigar scene.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes. So when I worked in Japan, that was a major thing.
Nice.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like I'm in a good country for cigars, but I just feel like there's some big business out there that I really need to be into somehow.
Listen, I think we can't even fathom the global economy.
Sure.
I mean, and what the opportunities are that are out there.
It's bonkers.
Yes.
So
very much so.
Well, all right. So you don't smoke cigars.
I don't.
But you did a little hookah.
Oh, well, but I used to be a cigarette smoker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you got off of that for health reasons, or?
For health reasons. I started smoking. I was in a very, very abusive and destructive relationship when I was in my teens. I was actually, when I was 19, I moved back to Lebanon actually to the UAE for 1 year and ended up being introduced to cigarettes. I had never tried one ever in my life. And then started smoking there, unfortunately. And then that became like a 10-year addiction for me until I had my first child. And the reason why I quit was not only for the health reasons. As I told you earlier, I was a personal trainer. I knew good and well that this was not something for me. However, when I got the first puff of that cigarette the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, relief from my anxiety, relief from my stress, relief from, you know what I mean? But I quit because I didn't like the power that the cigarette had over my life on everything that I would do. It determined my schedule. It determined who my friends were. It determined who I would hang out with and when. It was also causing me to hide the smell from my parents or my friends or whatever.
That's a hard odor to mask.
Yes. And it's very different than cigar smoking.
Very different.
I mean, extremely different. So that's my story on that. Now, when I finally just, I was like, enough is enough.
Yeah.
Am I not more powerful than a stick of tobacco?
Sure.
Well,
it's it's a sheer mental / the will is what it is.
Yes.
Now, there are certain things that if you get deep into them enough that it changes, like people that are alcoholics, it literally changes your body chemistry, or certain drugs. You can't just cold turkey it. Correct. Or it'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, cigarettes are not that way. But yeah, it's a mental game. And how much do you really want to quit? Yeah.
And then also understanding when the disease has set in, because that's what it is. It becomes a disease. And a lot of people are going, oh, it's not, it's all. Well, no, actually, when you get to the point where it's dominating you and you're actually having your brain circuitry changed, mm-hmm. You also have had your brain poisoned, right? And, essentially it's shutting off the logical parts of your brain and you only think with your emotion, you know what I'm saying, with your amygdala in the back. It's interesting because what we tell and try to teach the young people that go through our program is that you think with your emotions. Your brain is not fully developed. That prefrontal cortex that is the logic center of your brain does not get fully developed when you're a female until 25 and when you're a male until 27. So essentially what's happening is that when you've got these substances working on the brain, you're even as an adult, you're shutting off that frontal cortex mm-hmm. to make logical decisions. You're thinking only emotion, right? And then you're also changing and rewiring the brain so that your right and left sides of your brain are not communicating properly. I try to describe this to like smoking weed, getting high on weed. I'd be like, man, I love it because I get all, relaxed and stuff like that. And I'm like, can I just tell you what that is and why you feel relaxed? Is because you're having a temporary psychotic episode. And you literally cannot put two thoughts together. That's why you feel so relaxed.
You're just stupid.
You're just temporarily dumb. You know what I'm saying? And for a lot of people, that's relief to them.
Sure.
You know, they got a lot. They're dealing with a lot.
Right.
So what I care about is, I don't really care about the drug. I care about, why are you doing it? What is the self-medication?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then that was a lot of the reason why I quit smoking, because I wanted to get down to the root of, why am I letting this stick of tobacco have so much domination and power in my life?
Yeah.
There's got to be something deeper there. So
when I was in the throes of just all the trauma leading up to my divorce about 5 years ago, you know, I went to see a therapist and I was a total wreck. And she wanted to prescribe me something. I don't remember what it was. And I told her, no, I'm not doing that. Because I knew in my mind, you know, trying to think analytically, I knew this was a season. And if I could just get through this season, I would be okay. And I did not want to take one step down the path of a pill to make me feel better.
Right.
Which I think was the right move.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. But your faith was the foundation for that, because you understand seasons.
Right.
You know, and you not all hope is lost.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's just everything has a beginning and an end.
It sure does.
And if you can just, you know, gut it out, just if you can muscle through it, you will get through. And you don't need, we'll get into this stuff, but you don't need a substance is not the answer.
Yes.
The right person is, and being Jesus, but then the right people in your life.
Correct.
But anyway, we'll get into all that. Let's circle back to the cigars, because you asked me before the show, like, what's so wonderful about cigars for the aficionado? And that's a broad question, because everybody has their different things. But I think there's a couple, like, especially if you're into the finer things. Cigars are very meticulous. It's almost an art. It's a serious craft. Because cigars are one of the very few consumable 100% handmade products on the face of the planet. There are machine-made cigars, of course, but I'm talking about what we would call the premium hand-roll cigar. Mm-hmm. Right? It's a very artistic endeavor. And so the tobacco is planted, you know, very young. Are planted in a seed in a nursery. And then the healthy seedlings are transplanted into the field. And then, you know, when it's time to harvest, they harvest. And stop me at any point if you have questions, we can explore. But and there is I've seen like a little bit of machinery used in the nursery. So like when they'll plant them and they'll sprout and they'll get, you know, probably 6 inches tall, 8 inches tall, and they will trim the tops. And I've seen them use kind of like it's basically a lawnmower, but it's elevated, and they'll run the plants under it and like just trim the tops to encourage more growth, right? And then they'll take them and they'll plant them in the field, and then they will, at harvest time, they will either be harvested, be stalk cut, meaning, you know, they just cut it out at the ground, the stalk. Okay. Or they'll do what's called priming. In priming, they will go out and they'll pick like two or three leaves off once a week, starting at the bottom and headed to the top. And then, of course, when you do that, you know, you're forcing that tobacco plant. How do I want to say it? It is now everything it can generate is going into fewer and fewer leaves as it goes up. So you're really kind of pumping up,
making it potent.
You're right on the way up the plant, and of course, the most potent leaves are at the top. So you're pushing that plant to give all its nutrients to fewer and fewer leaves towards the ends of its life cycle. And then those tobacco leaves will be stitched together, draped over rails, and hung in a barn to air cure. Or, there's various kinds of curing. There's sun curing, air curing, fire curing, flue curing, various methods. And during the curing process, what you're doing is you're eliminating moisture and all the chlorophyll because nobody wants to smoke green leaves, right?
Well,
There are some. Well, that's where we're talking tobacco.
There's always somebody.
Yeah, there's always somebody. But they do have Candela cigars that are green.
Okay.
Like a popular one at St. Patrick's Day is the Filthy Hooligan by Alec Bradley. So it's got a green leaf on the outside, but it's still gone through curing and fermentation and all that, just very lightly. But you're eliminating moisture and chlorophyll and even some, the harshness of the tobacco. And after curing is fermentation. And so the heat that's built up in the piles of tobacco during fermentation releases ammonia. Gets rid of a lot of ammonia, gets rid of some nicotine and other undesirables. And the lion's share of the tobacco's flavor during that time is it begins to coalesce, so, as well as the leaf's final color. So after the fermentation process is over, which is 30 to 90 days, maybe a little longer, depending on what the manufacturer is trying to create, all those leaves will have a color, and then they will all be graded by color and by what's this leaf suitable for? Is this leaf good enough to be a wrapper on the outside that you see? Because that's like the prettiest of all the leaves, right?
Right.
Or is it going to be a minor leaguer and be the leaf underneath the wrapper called the binder? So they're going to color match all of them, and they're going to grade them as far as their proper use. And then after that, they're going to bale the tobacco and usually put it, not always, but sometimes in a burlap bale, or if they're doing other special things, they'll wrap it in palm bark. It's called tercio aging. But then they'll bale it and they'll send it to the warehouse for aging, just to sit there.
No wonder cigars are so expensive.
Yeah.
Just the time that it takes to produce.
That's exactly right. So, it's on as short as 6 months in bale. Average probably about 3 years just to sit on the shelf and all the flavors just to marry, sometimes longer, depending.
So that's why cigar and wine aficionados usually go hand in hand, because both of those. That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. And you haven't even made a cigar yet.
Wow.
It's just a leaf, just sitting there. And then you finally get it to the rolling floor where they make a cigar. And after they make the cigar, they bundle them in stacks of 50. And then they send them to another aging room, which is for the cigars, the finished cigars, a big humidor. And they'll sit there usually a minimum of 3 months, but usually somewhere between 6 and 12 months, maybe longer.
Wow.
So by the time you actually smoke a cigar, it's a couple years old already, in its tobacco form. So it's it's a serious craft, you know what I mean? And if you're a lover of that kind of thing, I don't know any other product on the face of the earth that's that technical is done purely by hand. There's probably some. I've seen some documentaries on legitimate soy sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And that's serious. By the time they do all the stuff and they age it and it goes through, I couldn't even tell you what it is, but I've seen it and it's like, wow, that's impressive. So, and then of course you get into what everybody enjoys, the actual smoking.
Right. Which you had alluded a little bit to the fact that has a lot to do with community.
Oh, it does.
Just community and getting around with the guys and enjoying it. And I think that has a lot to do with the love of cigar smoking, because it comes along with community.
It does. And it's, there is the community aspect with you and your friends, or there is as you would be, have been in that arena, there is the businessmen swinging business deals
Mm-hmm.
over cigars
Mm-hmm.
or hookah. Or there's the, I just get some me time and I get to check out from this hectic, chaotic world that we live in and sit on my back patio
Mm-hmm.
and have a cigar and a bourbon or a coffee or whatever your drink of choice is, and just kind of check out and let go, because we all need that. So, that's the therapeutic benefits. And so that's why people love it, and that's a totally different, it's different. That's not cigarettes. Nobody says, "Hey man, you want to get together and have a cigarette?"
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, either that or they're bumming one off of you, and then you end up having it together. But no, absolutely.
So that's the world of, in a nutshell. I mean, that's the world of cigars, in my humble estimation. And they're great for the singular moments. They're great for the fellowship with other guys or ladies. They're great for business. They're great. Well, see, I was just out last Friday. So I took my cigar business out for the Brad Paisley concert in Simpsonville.
Okay.
So I was out there, and it's the party scene. People are out there, they're having a good time, and the cigars are just another step up, and I was a busy man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see you've got a different customer though? I mean, wouldn't you say that? Like the customers that come to you?
I've got all kinds.
Okay.
You've got, I've got the cigar aficionados. I had a guy come up to the trailer and was looking at a few cigars that were boutique that many people don't really know about, and he knew who they were. He's like,
Okay.
Because I'm a connoisseur, I know that. Yeah. And then I have the stupid drunk 21-year-old who just wants to have a cigar because he can, and he's at a concert.
Just do something different.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens. This guy comes up, and I had my kids with me. I took my wife and I took my kids, and they get to enjoy a concert for free, which is super fun for them. And my kids like to hang around and help me, where they can. And I think I was tending to my wife, and I look back, and my oldest son is 16, so I didn't leave my 12-year-old there by herself.
Well, thank the Lord.
Yeah, I'm not that ignorant. But I walk down there and I get this kid, this 21-year-old, his cigar, and I saw him talking to her, and so I'm walking up, and after he left, she said he wanted to know how much they were, and he said I told him that the prices were just, they're on the back of all the cigars, and he said I can't read that, and she goes, Dad, was he drunk? I'm like, yes, honey, he was drunk. So you get all kinds. You get those kinds. You get the veterans. You get the ladies that come, and usually I find the ladies. There's a few ladies who come who know what they want because they smoke a few. Like one lady stopped and she said, that cigar lounge that opened up on Stone Avenue used to be the old Stone Pizza. Had a lady stop and get a cigar. She goes, I go to Stone Pizza every week, or Stone Torch Cigar every week. Okay. So she's a cigar smoker. She knows what she wants. And then I have, again, a concert goer who's there to party, a lady who's never smoked anything, a young girl. She wants something sweet. So I'm like, all right, I've got vanilla, I've got chocolate, I've got coconut, I've got hazelnut, I've got honey. I've got all of those.
Okay, but
that's what they
question for you. Yeah. Are you supposed to breathe in the smoke or not?
Not on a cigar.
Not on a cigar. You're supposed to puff so that it kind of gets absorbed within your mouth, but not going into the lungs.
That's correct. Cigars are about flavor. Like, what's the flavor profile of this cigar? What cigar do I want to smoke to complement this cognac or this bourbon or what I want to I've got a little charcuterie board with some cured meats and some nice cheeses. Like, and some wine. We don't want to smoke with this,
Got it.
right? You know, I mean, I did my best to pair with like Michelob Ultra at the at the concert, but it's not really. That's not. You can. It's something light and easy, but that's the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not smoking a cigar to inhale, right? I mean, cigarettes are about the fix. You know what I mean? I need this nicotine or in all the other things that are in a cigarette that do not exist inside of a cigar. I mean, there is nicotine in cigars, but it's natural to the tobacco leaf. But there's no additives to a cigar.
So no chemicals.
No chemicals, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's strictly 100% what's in the leaf. And like I mentioned during curing and fermentation, a lot of what's natural in the leaf leaves, and there's some leftover nicotine and the natural sugars and oils that are in the leaf, but that's about it. Okay. But there's no, I mean, the only time there's an additive to a cigar would be, like I said, if they're making a chocolate or a rum or a vanilla. Or
so that's why you rarely hear about a cigar addict. Like
they don't exist.
Addicted to cigars,
no.
Right?
You don't smoke a cigar because you need to. You smoke a cigar for the enjoyment.
Okay, then I feel much better doing this podcast.
Well, we're not smoking, but yeah, no, cigar addicts do not exist. I mean, if there are cigar addicts, it's purely out of choice, not because
they're physically
they're jonesing for a smoke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's purely.
And I think that a lot of people need to know that, you know, which is the reason why I brought this up, because, you know, wouldn't it be wonderful if that was the major, you know, thing that people were doing were cigars, you know what I'm saying? Instead of meth, instead of opioids, instead of, you know what I mean? Because essentially what people get out of substance use and what they don't understand is what they're really looking for is the release of the chemicals that are naturally released in our brains and our bodies and our hormones. Yeah, dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline, endorphins, you name it. But it's what we get from relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What we get from doing something great that we're proud of in our life, fulfilling a purpose. You know what I mean?
Well,
they're not making that connection.
Well, yeah. I think the hang up, I wouldn't even call it hang up. It's short-sightedness, I suppose, is what it is. It's lack of discernment and wisdom. It's those things like relationships or something that you've worked hard at to achieve. Those are all, those take effort and a long time.
Yes.
Versus I can just take this really quick and get an immediate reaction that makes me happy. But that's just short-sighted, and I mean, there's no maturity there. There's no value. Let's put it that way.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. There's no value. In fact, there's more of a cost, and a very huge cost
over the long term.
That's right.
Which conversely, the other things we're talking about, the relationships, the endeavors to achieve something, they're long-term rewards, but the reward is much larger than that you're going to get off of this 30-minute high or whatever it happens to be.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a lifetime fulfillment kind of a thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's the investment. And I think that a lot of, you know, at least the young people that we're working with, that's the one thing they can't see, which of course they can because they're teens, but they also don't have anybody telling them. They don't have anybody shifting their perspective to understand that. Like, where's the long-term investment here? You know what I'm saying? Like, can I take you to see that? But I think the reason why that is because you've got social media, instant gratification. You have all of these societal norms. They're growing up in a society of sheer chaos. You had brought that up earlier. You know, people want relief from the chaos. And what we're finding is that these young people do not have hope. In fact, a lot of them don't even know if they'll be around or if the world is going to be around in 10 years. So they're being robbed of the hope that there will be years for them to see this investment, you know? And that's what we're seeing. And in fact, you know, that's what we're trying to get and reverse, I guess you say, instill in them, but also to reverse that way of thinking. Like, no, we do not know how long your life is going to be. We do not know how long the earth is going to be around. But what I can guarantee you is that if you start on this path of using addictive substances, i.e. using something from the outside to manipulate the way that you feel inside, that I can guarantee you what the result of that is going to be.
Yeah, it will rob you of your joy. And if you do it long enough, it's going to rob you of your mind and of your body. Your life will be cut short.
And your relationships.
Yeah, that too.
Eventually. So it's quite interesting. Our approach to drug prevention is something completely different. And addiction in general. People are like, oh, do you just do drugs? No. We talk about pornography. We talk about gambling.
It is such an...
It's horrible.
Oh, my gosh.
It's horrible. The number of teens that are addicted to porn is out of control. But they don't see it as that because, it's something that they're doing in their home. They're not hurting anybody. They're not...
You're hurting yourself.
You're hurting yourself, and you're hurting your future relationships.
Yeah.
With the opposite sex.
Right.
They're not going to know how to have a relationship anymore. But they don't realize that until years down the line. But more than that, it's the dependency that's created. It's that domination.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to understand it. I don't care what you're doing.
Right.
And if it's dominating you and dictating everything, that's a problem.
It is a problem. All right. Well, let's dive in. Let's dive into all that. But before we get to it, look, if you want to elevate your next event with a non-addictive substance like a cigar,
There you go.
The Cigar Box is the way to do it, bringing you the ultimate in cigar luxury brought directly to your event. The Cigar Box offers a curated selection of premium cigars, expert recommendations, and a sophisticated mobile cigar bar experience on wheels, perfect for weddings, corporate events, private parties, oyster roasts, barbecue festivals, and more. Visit mobilecigarbox.com to learn more about the business and fill out the booking inquiry form, and I will be back in touch with you as soon as possible. Also, if you've not heard about the GoFundMe, I set up to help with my wife's medical recovery, and you'd like to give us a hand, simply visit GoFundMe and search Support Jennifer Stewart's Medical Recovery. I would appreciate it. The link will be posted in the show notes, and it's also in my bio on my social media profiles. So you, as mentioned, you are the founder and director of RIZE Prevention. You've pretty much already said what that is, but just give it to us again in a nutshell. Tell us what that is. How can people follow RIZE on social media, and how can they contact RIZE to find out more about it?
So our mission statement, very clear. We inspire and equip youth to rise above the influence of substance use and addiction. We got a great website, rizeprevention.org, spelled R-I-Z-E, rizeprevention.org. We're also on Facebook. We're on Instagram at RIZE Prevention. You can also see us on LinkedIn. You can also connect with me directly on LinkedIn, Martine Helou-Allen. My profile is there. We also have TikTok. TikTok.
Isn't it a double-edged sword, like how terrible social media is, but you have to be on it.
Yes, but you have to be on it to communicate with this generation. So my justification of that is that at least that's positivity in their feed. So, as you see this positivity, you're going to love, they love it. They follow us, they interact with us, which is wonderful. They communicate to us through social media. And so I'm there combating on their feed with the negative, destructive things that they see. But I know that our positivity and the love that we share, it will win. They'll like our stuff better.
It's got to. I mean, I try and remind my children from time to time, like as much as I can, like social media is a waste of time, more or less. But you have to remember, people are posting only the good. It's only the good. It's not the bad. Or they're posting stuff that's phony, just the classic example. Some dude wants to take a picture next to a Ferrari that he doesn't own, and it's on his dating profile. And it's just a bunch of deception and nonsense.
Well, yeah, and I've got a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, both boys. And we've had to work through that. My 13-year-old has never had social media, never will, as long as I can have, But for me, it's shifting the perspective on what social media is doing, and it's robbing them of their time. It's cheating them out of the time that they should have investing in their childhood, fun things, their future careers. In fact, speaking of social media, RIZE Prevention just became the first and exclusive partner for the Social Media Research Institute here in the state of South Carolina, where we are going to be training people on what's called social media first aid. And that is, because we got a lot of kids that are addicted to social media. Their parents don't know how to handle it. Schools don't know how to handle it. Even the kids don't know how to handle it. And so
I have a simple fix.
What's that? Just turn it off.
Just throw the phone in the garbage can.
Yeah. But but they won't.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's, how do you use social media in a healthy way? And how do you recognize when it's not healthy, and how do you take back control of that? So.
Yeah. I don't have, again, because I'm a divorced dad and I'm not the primary, I don't have the kind of control that I wish I had, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. So from what you shared with me pre-show and plenty of what you've already said, is that the purpose of RIZE is you're working at preventing substance abuse and destructive patterns in young people, really, if you can, before they even get off the ground.
That's right. Absolutely.
And, it's just in line with the old saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
That's right. And if you do it right, it works. But there's been decades of not doing it right.
Well, flesh out for us what doing it right is versus doing it wrong.
Okay. So as far as what we have experienced and what is now becoming evidence-based, meaning that now the science, so prevention science is a very new field. There are lots of studies that are just now coming out from years or decades of research that finally substantiate what really works. And what really works is getting down to the core of what is being self-medicated. You have to understand the connection between substance use and addiction with unmet emotional needs, unaddressed mental health issues. Like I said before, I have all 10 of the ACEs, right? I was going through my life self-medicating my trauma, self-medicating my experiences in my house, self-medicating, being violated as a child very early on, and then again at 13, and then again at 21. And so you have to figure out, what are you self-medicating? What people are looking for, everybody on this planet, everybody's looking for significance. Am I significant? Am I worthy of being loved and valued? And so when you have things that happen to people that violate that, or that make them not believe that any longer, you've got somebody that's very primed for getting to very destructive behaviors. And so the key is to get down to the root of those things, address them, be honest about it, but also to provide the mentor or the, helping families. We've helped families, and the problem is the parent. The problem is not the child. The problem is the parent, not being there for the child. I'm like, dude, you don't even know how to self-regulate. So how are you going to be able to co-regulate with your child whose prefrontal cortex is not developed yet, and they're relying on you to be the person that helps them be logical? And you don't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's getting down to the root of that self-medication and turning that into self-regulation.
As I was reading the things you shared with me and building the notes for the show, I couldn't help but think about that this is really, when it comes to this kind of stuff in teens and children, it's really, it's a parental issue more than it is a child issue. That old show, I don't remember the name of the show, but Cesar Millan, the guy who does all the dogs, he'll say over and over, I don't train dogs, I train people. That's right. And it's this, like, children up to a certain age, I don't know where that cutoff is, but children are whatever their parents make them. Whatever you put into that child, either, like, a child will do whatever you allow them to do. And you have to set boundaries, and there has to be enforcement of boundaries. And, I guess the saying, right, whatever behavior gets rewarded gets repeated.
Yes. And or exposed.
Yeah.
So a lot of parents, they don't even think about the exposure of their children to things that they simply cannot process and that they should not process. And maybe that's just a fight between a boyfriend and a girlfriend or a spouse, two spouses. Those kids don't need to see that. I saw my parents fighting violently, when I was extremely young. And so I didn't see co-regulation modeled in front of me. And so, there's a great saying that says, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so the kids don't know what they don't know.
No.
And so they have to have advocates for them. And that's why they love us, because we don't go into school going, y'all are bad. You need to straighten out your behavior today. No, it's not about that. It's we know that you want to live a good life. We know that you want to live healthy. We know that you want happiness. Can we help you understand why you're not fulfilling that? Because there's a reason for that, you know? And can we help you? Can we love you?
That's what everybody wants, is just to be loved.
Yes, yes.
And I never, and children learn by observing. I never, literally never. I if I could go relive my childhood, I would do it 100 times. I had such a good one. I never, ever saw my mom and dad fight. Not a single time.
What a privilege.
Ever. Now, you know they did. Like, well, you don't know it as a kid, but when you grow up as an adult and you look back on it, you know they did, because it's inevitable. But I didn't see it. I only ever saw my dad just love my mom.
What a gift. What a gift.
And love, and they just, loved us. I have 2 brothers, and just loved us unconditionally and always encouraging. I mean, there was discipline, but it always am disappointed in myself for just the divorce and the trauma that's put my kids through. I'll always be ashamed of that.
Right. Well, you shouldn't be, because we're human beings.
Yeah, I know.
We're humans. And as I mentioned to you before this podcast, but God, and for his grace and his mercy. You know, I mean, that's the life that we live. But you see the beauty that comes out of that. You see the beauty that comes out of all the pain, and you start living your life well. And all of a sudden, when you're making the corrections, your children see your corrections, and all of a sudden they've stopped that generational cycle. But it comes to where you're self-aware, you know, and then you end up making those corrections, and then your kids don't do the same thing that you. Let me tell you something. I was so fearful that my son, my 16-year-old now, would be on his own and wanting to be out of my house by the time before he was 16. Why? Because I had this fear that it was going to be the same thing again, like my house, and that I was out when I was 15, got to get out of my house. When he had his 16th birthday and he was still living in my home and still had a great relationship with me, I was like, yes, I must have done something right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I could be living in that shame and being ashamed of everything. But that was my goal, is can I do it differently for my kids? You know, and there's always a chance to correct. And I think that's what we talk to about these kids. You're never so far gone that you cannot have a correction, because love wins. Love has always won. We know
that's
that.
the gospel.
Yes, yes.
I mean, it is you said, but God just reminded me of one of a verse I love in Ephesians 2. I think it's verse 4. I mean, in the first couple of verses of Ephesians 2, the Apostle Paul breaks down just pretty much the wretchedness of man.
Yeah.
You know, but then he says, but God, who is rich in mercy.
Amen.
For his great love wherewith he loved us.
Yes. Yes. Go God. Go God. And I think that once we fathom that and really understand what that means in our lives, you know what? We will never be deprived of love. Even if there's no other human being that loves us, we now have, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It transcends
Well,
us.
it does. Like, I remember watching, so there's an old sitcom called Hot in Cleveland.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
You know, and I was watching a documentary about that show, and, you know, most of these people they're Hollywood people, which is fine. And they're totally different from people probably like me and you, and probably from the majority of the people that live in Carolina or Tennessee or whatever. Our values are very different.
Mm-hmm.
But the lady, I don't remember her name in Hot in Cleveland, but she played Daphne on Frasier. Jane Leeves.
Okay. Yep.
She kept in this documentary, she kept talking about how they all got along so well, and they all loved each other, and they were a family. And it at that moment in time, this is several years ago, it just dawned on me. I'm like, it doesn't really matter what your moral compass is, or what your politics are, whether you're right or left. Everybody just wants a family.
Yes.
And to be loved.
And to belong.
And to
be
belong.
accepted.
Because she kept talking about family. And I'm like, that's it.
Yes.
Like, and then, of course, that's what, that's what the Lord offers to us through Jesus Christ is, number one, forgiveness and love and acceptance, regardless of what you've done or who you are, and forgiveness. And it's liberating, which is the gospel. And of course, if you get that into people, and if you get that into children, like, that is contentment. And if you're content, I don't need meth.
Exactly.
And I don't need alcohol.
Exactly.
And I don't need,
That's
take
right.
the poison.
Those things will solve themselves. Why? Because then all of a sudden they're going to understand that their lack of contentment came from those things, or they don't want to even try it because it's not worth it. They're okay as they are. It's kind of like shopping addiction. Can we talk about that? There's so many people that got to buy because they're not content.
I had this very conversation with my 12-year-old.
Yes.
In the pool on Saturday.
Why you got to constantly get stuff?
Oh my God.
Why do you have to, every time that you go out, can you understand that's a dopamine fix?
I told her I was going to read her the old book, The Berenstain Bears, the case of the Gimmies. They have a book with that very topic.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I told her, honey, this is a horrible place to be in your life, where you always have to have something new to make you happy, because 3 days later it's going to be old and boring.
Correct.
And you're just
like, but the world runs on money.
Yeah.
And we also get that across to the kids. We share with them the manipulation.
Right. We're on topic, but we're kind of like in the weeds back and forth. This kind of point. Yeah. Like, so in what ways, like, how is RIZE, outside of social media, how is RIZE connecting with kids?
Okay. So several ways. So we have our RIZE program, which is our middle school program. We go into a middle school for 4 months at a time, and we will serve every single student that's in the grade that we're serving. So we don't just pick kids that are at risk. We believe all kids are at risk if they don't have some sort of mentorship and positivity. So we will serve kids for 4 months. We go in, and it's a combination of presentations as assembly style presentations, and then mentor visits during their lunch times. We also do groups, like for kids who want to be part of a group talk session as well. We also work with parents, which is really super important. We just wish parents would show up for our presentations. That would be awesome. And then we also do one-on-one coaching. So for those kids that are dabbling or they're at risk, they can coach with us. We're all certified adolescent addiction and motivation coaches that will help them and walk them through that process. We then also have a faith-based portion of our program, called our service at RIZE, called Beyond Genesis 3. And that's where we work with churches. And essentially what that is where the science of addiction meets the power of Christ. And going into churches and working with youth groups, we will do a presentation for the congregation. And then we have an awesome event that's coming up on August 23rd that is inviting churches from all over the upstate to Five Forks Methodist, which is at the corner of the Bridges Road in Holland, right there where Bridgeway Station is. And we are having a wonderful event, about 2.5 hours, where we're going to have 3 speakers speaking on issues, but that we normally don't talk about in church, okay? But we will speak the word into that, and the fact that we need to be having these conversations. So that's how we interact. We also will participate in different community events. We're part of the Power Collective here in Greenville, which is very focused on opioids and stopping the opioid crisis.
Okay.
And so we'll do that for high schools. So we will make presentations to high schools, but also offer our coaching to high schools as well. So
okay. For those of you listening who might not be in the know, Beyond Genesis 3, and I think I'll hit it here. So Genesis 3 is the chapter where Adam and Eve, they sin, and sin enters the world and basically everything goes off the rails. Everything goes bad from there forward. And that's the world we live in today. So that's the kind of the crux of Beyond Genesis 3,
Thank you
right?
for clarifying.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And we want to take people beyond the curse. And that's what essentially who Christ is. He's the one that's taking us above and beyond.
Right.
Right? So.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he makes, gosh, there's so many things. Like he makes you, if any man be in Christ, he's a new creature.
That's
All
right.
things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Now you're a son of God, a daughter of God. You're a priest. He made us priests and kings. That's Revelation.
Redemption, baby.
We're Ephesians. We're citizens of heaven. I mean, there's just, and part of the wild thing is about that, like, you're already, in God's mind, biblically, you're already there.
Yes.
I mean, Ephesians says we're already seated in heavenly places.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand. I mean, and look, we'll be honest, like there's so much in the Bible I don't understand, which is the honest take. But I like it.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I
yes.
don't have to understand it to like it.
It's the excitement of the journey, right? So it says the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord.
Yeah.
And when you have it, he will show you and he will bring to your understanding things, right? And then you'll also be able to see him work, like doing those supernatural things in your life, but it's because now you indeed are a new creature. So I say, when you become a believer, you are no longer a human being living a spiritual experience. You are now a spiritual being living a human experience.
Yeah.
And when you can really see your life like that, then you can be so much more discerning about what is allowed and what is not allowed to come into your life. And you could smell chaos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't have that, like, I used to be so codependent. I'm like, oh my gosh, why do these horrible men come into my life? And I'm like, the reason why they do, honey, is because you get that open door that's like, yeah, come in my life because I'm codependent. You know what I mean? So it's like I had to invite chaos into my life because I lived my childhood in chaos. I don't know how else to operate, And so when you come to the knowledge of the fact that your own choices are creating the consequences that you now are dealing with and you take ownership of that, I think that's a really powerful thing. But then you also understand you got power to change that on a dime.
Yeah, I think you said something right there that I want to touch on because I actually wrote this down. So I don't know how we get children to do this or maybe in adults because it can be hard, like children or even mid to late teens to understand that life is a series of choices and that those choices have consequences, some immediate, some long-term, because that's even difficult for adults sometimes. It's difficult to have experienced X and feel a certain way about it and have the discipline and self-control to make an appropriate decision for the future that is uncomfortable now. But you have to understand that the decision you're making in response to an event or to what someone did to you, which if it's personal, you might feel like your response to them is justified and is a consequence of their choices. But that choice that you're making still has its own consequence.
That's right.
And it brings to mind a saying of one of my old teachers, Dr. John Getch, who said, you're free to do whatever you want to do, but you're not free to choose the consequences.
That's right.
And maybe if you're listening, that was a little muddy, but let me illustrate it. So as I said before in the podcast, going on 5 years divorced. My kids now are 20, 18, 16, and 12.
Wow.
They were 16, 14, 12, and 8. So my two youngest kids, and it was hard on everybody. Divorce is ugly. There's no winners in a divorce. My two youngest, God bless them, they kept good attitudes. I have a beautiful relationship with them. We talk. They come see me. They're happy to be here. I'm happy to see them. We have a great time. My two oldest ones did not. I did not see or speak to them for 2 years. They would not see me. They would not answer my text messages. They would not answer my phone calls. I have a little bit of communication with them now. And so, and, I would try at random times. I think if you're an understanding person, understanding parent in that situation, you can't be smothering that child, trying to get them on the phone and bazillion texts, and you can't do that. And so I didn't, I'd text at random and time to time and in those things, but they chose not to see me, not to talk to me. And maybe they needed some space. That's fine. Maybe they did. I don't know. And they were upset. I understand that. But it's easy to let 2 weeks turn into 2 months, turn into 9 months, turn into 2 years, and you haven't talked to your dad. And maybe, like I said, maybe they felt justified in that choice. However, and I've tried to tell them at some point, even that choice and you're upset has a consequence. What do you think that's going to do to the relationship that we have when you don't talk to somebody for 2 years? So how do we get children to understand this principle?
I think it's when you stop making it personal and you start shifting the perspective to let them know about humanity. And the fact that, with me, my perspective is this: God is our Heavenly Father, right? But how many people have no relationship with Him? However, when they come back and they decide that they're going to change, He's immediate, like the prodigal, to welcome them back in, just open arms, come on, I think with kids,
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we have information in that story that's not, and that's the benefit that we know. Yeah, the father was willing to welcome him home, but we know beforehand that he was repentant.
Oh, yes.
So you don't get to just come back with,
sure.
You can't come back with a bad attitude.
Like you deserved it. Sure.
Right.
But so, I think for us, when we make it not a very objective with kids, right? So when I'm speaking to a child about his or her addiction, his or her behavior, when I don't make it about them as being bad, when I change the conversation and change their perspective to understand humanity and the challenges that all of us face, and that some of us are better equipped to face those challenges than others. When you start doing that and you stop making it personal, you know what gets taken out from as far as their point of view is concerned? Pride.
Yeah.
And if I can really work on that and be able to not have any place for pride to rear its ugly head, that's when you start breaking through. This is not about good or bad. This is not about you're right or you're wrong. This is about unconditional, consistent love for you as a human being, wanting you to be the very best that you can be. Now, also, you take realistic things that really happen to them, the consequences that they face, and you let them tell you.
Yeah.
You did this, and what was the outcome?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. To think otherwise is insanity, correct? And I think that taking them personally out of the equation and letting them see that we all have the same human condition, and we have to equip ourselves to rise above the human condition. And what does that? Then we start throwing them truths about what does that. But I think also the unconditional love, like for instance, if I'm coaching a child, he or she is, I'll just take an example, they're vaping almost daily, right? And here they come in, they coach with me for the second session, and they sit in front of me, and I ask them, are you still vaping? And they say yes. And you know what I tell them? I love you just the same. Doesn't matter. Can we look back on why did you do that? Can we look at what the last time that you vaped? I want you to go back and I want you to tell me what you were thinking, what had happened, where were you in the mindset, right? And using that as a teaching moment. When you do that, you take shame away, you take pride away, and all of a sudden you start empowering them and equipping them to be in control of their behavior. Did you like the outcome? Did you like the fact that you know that you were going to come in here today and have to tell me that? Okay, then, well, the power is with you.
Yeah.
but I don't change the way that I feel about you.
Right. Nah, I don't know, my little girl was asking me the other day, just, silly 12-year-old stuff. Dad, would you still love me if I looked this way or was, if I wasn't, a white American, I was this or whatever? And I just said, honey, I don't love you based on what you look like or sound like. I love you because you're mine.
Yep. And that's exactly what she wanted to hear.
That's it.
That's exactly what she wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And that made her day. I.e., is there anything that would ever disqualify me from your love and from receiving your love?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Yeah, but neither height nor depth.
There you go. Exactly. That's my favorite in Ephesians in chapter 3 are those verses 16 through 20. You know what I mean? That's what God wants. He wants to see his glory manifested in us to fulfill his gifts. I ask kids this, and I want to hit on the fact that we work with youth that are incarcerated as well. I always say the two most important questions that you will ever have to answer in your lifetime are who am I and why am I here? And then I ask, did you create yourself? Of course, the answer is no. Then you are not the source of those answers. Yeah. And you got to get to the source of those answers. Otherwise, you will never be content. And then you'll let the world determine that for you. And the world is chaos. So is it any wonder that if you're going by the whims of the world and the opinions of the world, that your life is in chaos as well?
Mm-hmm.
Of course it is. That's logical. The kids that we work with who are incarcerated, they don't even understand what the word love is. They get so uncomfortable when we start talking about that. In fact, they get offended when we start talking about that. When I say, I love you, I'm here because I love you. You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't have the right to love me. Wait a second. Yes, I do. Because you are human. You don't have to prove anything to me to have me love you. Your very existence on this planet deserves love from someone else. I'm telling you, they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And many of them cry.
Sure.
Because they don't realize that what your daughter was asking you, do you love me anyway? Would you love me anyway? Right? That's really what they're seeking. It takes some time though, because they're very hardened and they've seen a lot out of life and they've tried to do everything they can to disqualify someone from loving them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they're just flabbergasted and offended when you can't.
Well, they don't, a person, and this carries over to just people. If you didn't receive love as a child, you don't know how to receive it as an adult. And so it's difficult, like when somebody's trying to love you, you don't know what to do with that because you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You're looking for the rug to be pulled out from under you or however you want to phrase it. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, true love is unconditional. There's no strings attached. You just love this person for who they are. And that's that. It's like marriage is a bit like it's a bit of a mystery. Like there are things I could tell you about my wife and things I love about her, but there's something that's metaphysical about why you love somebody. Like, I don't really know. Like, I love this woman because, and I could list some things, but then there's a passage in the Old Testament. Let's see if I can look it up really quick. Yeah, here it is in Deuteronomy chapter 7. Moses is talking, or who's talking? The Lord is talking through Moses to the children of Israel, and he says, Thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all the people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people. but because the Lord loved you and because he would keep the oath which he'd sworn unto your fathers. So in other words, he loved them just because.
Yeah.
I mean, it said he didn't set his love upon you for this reason, but because the Lord loved you. That's not really an answer of why. It's just because he did.
Yep.
For whatever reason. And that's how I have found it. Like there's umpteen things about my wife that I can tell you that that I love about her, but I don't know, there's something special between a man and a woman when it just clicks, that it's there's love there, but it's hard to exactly pinpoint why.
Right. I can tell you why I love my husband, because my husband wants me to be the best person that I can be. And he wants me to fulfill God's purpose for my life. Mm-hmm. And he wants to be part of that. And I think that my husband considers it a privilege to love me and to be loved by me. Mm-hmm. And that's why I love him.
Sure.
You know, because he doesn't ask me to do anything to earn that.
Well, if you have to earn it, it's not love. Or if you have to earn it, it's not love.
Exactly. And so that's what we try to get across to these young people, is that who made you feel like you have to qualify? Who made you feel like you had to qualify to be, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not this enough? No, that's just the world that's making you feel that way because it makes money off of your deficiencies. If you do not believe that you're deficient, then the world has a hard time having, control over you.
Yeah, sure.
So that's what we do. We love these kids into greatness. People are like, can you just define that? No, that's what it is. We love them into greatness. And it's honestly, Chris, it's because every single person on my team believes that everyone has a unique purpose for which they were born. And we want to give everybody an equal chance to see what that is. Yeah. Man, oh man, that's the greatest regret I think that anybody could ever have, is to live their entire lifetime, be on their deathbed about to take their last breath and never know why they were here.
Yeah. That's well, I mean, if you're a person of faith, if you're a Christian, then you have a mission, and everybody does. So what schools are you operating in?
Okay, so we're in 5 different counties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We have branched out exponentially. I started in first year in 4 schools, and now we're at 20 for this academic year. So we are in Greenville County schools, about 60-70% of the middle schools now in Greenville County. We're actually also here in Pickens County. So we're in Pickens Middle School, always looking to expand. Here we're in Spartanburg. In District 4, now in Woodruff. We also have charter schools that we're in. So High Point Academy is one of our charter schools. We're also in 2 private schools. So Southside Christian and St. Joe's Christian School. We're also in Lawrence, all of Lawrence District 55 middle schools. And we're in Anderson 1 in Powdersville and Palmetto middle schools. Okay. And also in high schools all over as well.
You're all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So what if there is, what does RIZE need? Like, what does the future look like? Where are you going? What are the needs?
Yes. So RIZE needs more public advocacy among parents. We need to have more parents believe in what we're doing and to also know that we're here to serve and help and to support them as parents. Like you said, the key is really parents. Could you imagine what we could do if we had more parents to show up for our workshops, to understand their role as co-regulators with their teens? Starting with parents who are still engaged with their kids in 5th grade because they haven't yet gone to middle school and their kids aren't yet driving them crazy and wanting them to check out. Just having parents be prepared for middle school and for high school. That would be amazing. So more public advocacy, of course, more funding. Listen, I do not take a dime from the federal government. And the reason why I don't is because I don't want to be beholden to the federal government. Okay? I don't want for the feds to go, well, one day the funding is here and then the next day it's not. So we need to have more of community fundraising, grassroots funds. I've been trying forever to launch a campaign of $5 a month. Gives a kid our RIZE program. That's $60 a year. That's cheaper than a cup of coffee a month. But there's nobody believes that either it'll work or they just feel like that's the government's job to take care of it. No, it's not. That's the reason why we're here. Is because when you give to the government, which should be done by the community, you're going to get failure, in my opinion, and what we've seen. It does not. Communities need to take charge of this at a grassroots level. So funding, we've also got our first annual fundraiser coming up and on November 20th at Furman.
So you launched in 21.
Yes.
You launched in 21. So we're 4 years in and this is not what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just surprised it's your first fundraiser 4 years in.
I know, because
I'm not trying to be mean-spirited.
No, it's my first, because I haven't had a crew that's large enough. So I have been growing the organization. So every year I've doubled my budget and I've doubled my income. We've had support from grants that have been given to us by the Department of Education, which I'm very happy for, but not on the federal level, on the state level. Mm-hmm. So I've had to do a lot of proving of why does my methodology work.
I see.
So when you have a prevention organization, it takes 10 years from start to finish to really say, this is an organization that's got it going on. They're collecting the data, all of that. So it's kind of like chicken before the egg. Where's the data that proves you're effective? Well, we're working on innovation. We're working on something different because what's been done hasn't been working. So I've had to do a lot of building in that regard to even build the program out to say, yes, we're effective. Then also on top of that, expanding into different counties. School districts, you got to get the trust from them. So how can I ask people for money for a program to support only 4 schools, right? I've had to wait till I've grown, right, to get 20 schools on board. And now I'm saying this is what we're doing. You can invest in us. And also the accountability, the transparency of how do we spend our money. There's a lot of nonprofits that don't spend the money the right way.
Yeah.
Let's just face it.
That just sounds like a headache. And I know kind of how that feels with some recent happenings, but it's like you're doing something and they want you to have C, but before they'll give you that, they want you to have A and B, but you're saying, I can't get A and B until I get C. I need the C.
Correct.
And it's just...
Correct. And so it's been some of those great champions who believed in me from the very beginning that have been that seed money. And I've been a very, very good steward of my money.
Yeah.
I've done very well. I know how to be frugal. Raised by my grandmother that was from the Great Depression. She, I still wash my aluminum foil if I have to. That's my mindset. But now we're really starting to grow. And now we're having requests to go statewide. How can I do that if I don't have the income?
Sure.
We travel an hour from our office to go to Pickens Middle School. Are those kids worth it? Yes. But is the gas expensive? Yes. So it's really the public advocacy part. And this show, I'm so grateful to you for inviting me to be on this show and to be interviewed by you, because there are so many listeners that have never heard of RIZE Prevention and who I'm sure love already what we do.
Sure.
So I really do appreciate that. And just being more proactive to ask people, hey, and also on this, they're like, you get grants, you get government funding. Yes, but that's not where the power is. The power to change communities and the power to change societal norms is having people at the grassroots level investing in the mission of the nonprofit.
Right.
So now we're in that phase. And it's interesting. After starting, in 21, now all of the evidence-based science that's coming out about prevention is everything that RIZE already does.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're ahead of it.
You're ahead of the game.
Yes.
Nice. So let's circle back really quick.
Okay.
The first fundraiser coming up in Furman.
Yes.
So what's happening?
So what's happening is it's called A Night to RIZE, and this year's theme is golf. So driving out addiction is the name of the event. And so basically it is, we're selling tickets for the tables. We're doing, we're going to have a great band that's going to be there, a jazz band, which is super phenomenal. We're also going to be introducing the community to kids that have gone through our program and have had life-changing transformations, those kids and their families. We're also going to honor another community member who has loved youth and been a great inspiration to youth. We're going to be doing a great raffle. We're giving away a family trip to Disney, so a 4-day trip to Disney. And TaylorMade is one of our sponsors, and we're going to be selling golf
if
balls.
Furman wasn't a tobacco-free campus, I'd bring the cigar trailer and sell cigars and donate.
Yeah, but you know what? Speaking of selling cigars and donating, we're also looking for businesses to donate a certain percentage anytime they would like to us.
Sure.
Because, Chris, they're not thinking about this. Their future workforce is in middle school and high school right now.
Right.
And so we've got employers that can't keep people because they are, smoking dope all the time, or they're unstable. You know what I mean? And so they can't. The workforce is not stable. Productivity is not optimal. Right. So we're trying to have companies understand that investing in RIZE is investing in their future workforce.
Yeah. What does your staffing look like?
So right now we're a staff of 10. And we can do that because we serve our schools in 2 separate semesters. So we will have our fall schools and our spring schools.
So
yes.
Year-round.
So it's not a year-round deal. So I'm able to double the impact of the team.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have most of our staff are student liaisons, which is what we call the people that actually go into the schools, do the presentations, mentor with the kids. I am very much part of the program. I am the lead presenter. I am the head coach, so me as an executive director is not managerial as much as it is really integrated with my team. And of course, we've got the executive assistant, we've got the digital communications manager, but everybody is a part of what we do as a program.
Yeah. So who's asking you to go statewide?
The Department of Education.
What would that look like?
Oh, baby. So
that looks like
it's like a $5 million investment.
Go down to the Red Sea. This is what I want you to do. You've got this hot army in pursuit. Now you're in between a rock and a hard place.
Yep.
Now just hang out there with them barreling down on you, and I'll deal with it when I'm ready.
That's exactly right, because he has done that since the very beginning.
Yeah.
I have had multiple Red Sea occurrences, but wonderful opportunities that have opened up. And I'm on God's timing.
Just be still.
I am ready. I'm ready for the opportunity, and I'm prepared. But I believe that he's in charge. I'm not desperate.
Yeah.
We have a great partnership that we have now that's in the works that's going to take us to that point going on into next year, I believe. But I'm not concerned about RIZE. It's not about RIZE prevention. It's about our society. It's about the impact that we make on the communities that we serve. So RIZE can be as big as I want it to be. But if we're not literally changing what people do in their own homes to love youth into greatness, to protect them from these destructive societal norms, then I have failed. And then RIZE prevention has failed. It's not about growing RIZE.
Right.
It's about growing what we believe in and inspiring more adults to take on the role that they so desperately need to take on in order for our future generations to thrive. And that is to love, to be invested in these young people who frankly don't know what they're doing. And they need us to help them.
Sure.
They need that,
I can't even begin to, obviously it's not going to be an overnight process. Like because you said you're in Greenville County, you're in Spartanburg County, you're in Pickens County.
Anderson,
and
Lawrence.
Anderson and Lawrence. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's 5 counties. But there's 40, 50-something counties in South Carolina.
There's a lot of people to serve.
Yeah.
But do you know the tipping point philosophy? Have you ever heard of that, tipping point?
Lay it on me.
27%. That's what you need. You need 27 to 30% of a population to buy into what you're doing. I'll use it. There's a great book called Tipping Point, and it talks about solar panels on homes, okay? That salesperson that's trying to sell the solar panel needs only to get 30% of the homes that are on a certain street, and then they can get 90%. Because when you start getting people to buy in, you don't need to be the salesperson anymore. The salesperson are the people that have bought in, and all of a sudden people are like, oh my gosh, what am I missing out on? These people must know something that I don't know. And then it multiplies naturally. So we've seen that happen with social media. We've seen that happen with so many negative things in our society. My problem is, why are we doing that for the positive things? Why are we not implementing and going with that same philosophy for the things that help people? knowing that that's what they really need. Why are we not doing that? And I think the reason why we're not doing that is because relationships take work.
Yeah.
And they take time, and and an investment of your time, you know, and the world and its chaos has eaten up the time. Oh, I'm just too busy.
Yeah.
You know?
So where's next? I mean, you said you're in these 5 counties, but who are you talking to for further expansion?
So we're talking to different counties who are very interested in having our program and just trying to see how are we going to expand there? How am I going to get an office in Charleston for the Charleston School District? So now we're working on getting us down to Charleston, at least for presentations this year, even if we can't be there. How am I going to expand? Do I need to have a RIZE Prevention team in every single one of these counties? Or can I start working with law enforcement agencies who have SROs in schools, right? They're there all the time. Why can't they partner with RIZE Prevention and be there as advocates for us? So there's a lot of different ways that we could go about this. Do we license? Do I franchise? Right? Because not only is RIZE doing very well in South Carolina and the impact on the schools where we are shows that we're very effective, but when I go and I speak to these national organizations like the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Agency, when I presented their conference, or the Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America, when I've gone to speak at their conferences, there's people from all over the country that like swarm me after my presentation asking me, how can we get this in our state?
Yeah.
So we're the only people in the country doing what we're doing, how we're doing it.
Yeah.
So this will be a nationally recognized program. It's just chicken before the egg, right?
Sure.
So what do we do? You know, how do we go about that? But I need to get the endorsement, which I kind of have. We are been officially named strategic partners with the Department of Education here in South Carolina for their Character and Resiliency Education Initiative. I'm very, very thankful for that. But we're a public health organization. I'm not an education nonprofit. And so in that realm, we need to be supported by public health. I'm not a curriculum in school. So that kind of limits the ability of the Department of Education to fund me as an education provider, because I'm not, you know?
Yeah.
So it's trying to strategize, how do we do this? But yeah, I mean, once we get the right people that know what we're doing and that have the ability to help us, even to strategize the growth, this is going to go nationwide.
Sure. What last question, we'll probably take a quick break. What does RIZE need? I know you said we're working on the fundraising, but what do you need to move forward as far as personnel? Like staffing to make that.
Yes.
I mean, obviously you need like the people, the boots on the ground in the schools, and you talk about certain things that might accomplish that, like SROs or whatever. But as far as like administrators or what do you need?
Yes. So I need more coaches, because we're having a huge uptick in the number of kids that we're coaching, you know, one-on-one. So I need that.
How are you coaching them? Or is it like face-to-face?
Yes.
You're getting them on Zoom?
Yes,
Okay.
mostly face-to-face. I always meet face-to-face first, and then if we need to go virtual because of their inability to either come to us or us to come to them. So we'll do that. I need people who are going to be out there public advocacy, people who are volunteering to get the word out. I need people even who are on social media. Start spreading our posts. Look at it. You know what I mean? Even that is so much. You don't even have to be working. For me, volunteering in that regard would be fantastic. Somebody who's in a neighboring county that is outside of the counties that we serve. For instance, if there were somebody in Oconee that would be willing to help me to manage this project in Oconee, then I can go serve Oconee.
Yeah.
I can serve Seneca.
That's where my kids are.
Yeah.
County,
So I would love that, but I can't do it because it's too far for us.
Tell me about it.
The other thing, visitation.
I drive over there all the time.
The other thing that I'm looking for is that I know that the best advocates for prevention are those people who are in recovery. Because they know what it is to not stop addiction before. Exactly. So I'm trying to start an advocacy among people that are in recovery to be sponsoring students for the RIZE program, or even to advocate for us on social media as to why prevention is so important. And the question is, would you have rather had somebody invest in your prevention or in your recovery?
Yeah.
Prevention, of course. Right. But you're glad that somebody would invest in your recovery, no doubt. But looking back on it, wouldn't it have been great?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. How's your coffee? Are you a coffee all day kind of person?
I'm two max per day.
You're two max. All right. Well,
Yes.
I'm gonna refill mine.
Okay.
Because it's the right thing to do. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Coffee is refilled. And before we get into it, let me just say that if you are ready to make a real estate move in Greenville, South Carolina, as your local realtor with C-Dan Joyner and a member of Nexus Group, I strive to get you the best deal in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of disturbance to your life. So let me help you find your dream place today. Call me at 864-207-2316 or visit my website, Chris Strother, that's STROTHER, chrisstrother.cdanjoyner.com. All right, I'm going to try and hurry this up. I know we're up against a hard stop in a few minutes, but you run, and I assume it's related to RIZE, a podcast called Righteous Interruption.
Yes.
Where can people find it?
Easily is righteousinterruption.com. You can find me on Apple Podcasts. You can find me
Spotify. Okay.
Everywhere.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. Righteous Interruption, it's an extension of RIZE. And so what do you do with the podcast?
Oh, I love this podcast, and I wish that I had more time to record. So Righteous Interruption is based on what I experienced in my life. And we learn through interruption, okay? Whether those interruptions are wonderful and they're great opportunities that have interrupted, our previously held notions about what we want to do in life, what we're capable to do. But then we also have the interruptions that are not so nice. And they're the crises in our life. The fact that, we live in the world that we live in, beyond Genesis 3, right? What we were talking about earlier. How we respond to those interruptions is either righteous or unrighteous, right? Righteous interruption is about motivating people to take the scripture and the word that we know is true, and to practically and honestly apply that to our life, to where in every interruption in our life, we respond righteously to that. Because when you respond righteously, you level up. That's what God wants.
Sure.
He wants to see, have you matured in faith?
Yeah.
Have you learned anything, my child? Right?
Right.
Keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting, right?
Right.
And so every interruption gives us a chance.
Yeah.
Right? To learn more, to grow if we make the right decisions. And this podcast is based on Oswald Chambers and the writings of Oswald Chambers, My Utmost for His Highest. That he was one of my mentors. Charles Stanley, Dr. Stanley is another one of my mentors. When it comes to the practical application of the word in your life, the word means nothing if you don't apply it. Right?
Sure.
And so, but it's glorious when you apply it, even if you're afraid, right? And then you see that God is faithful and he comes through for you and he rewards your obedience, right? So this podcast, I always lead and connect to a devotion in My Utmost for His Highest, and then I weave in my own personal story.
It's a solo thing. Okay.
But I want to start doing interviews.
Sure.
Eventually, I want to interview people on their righteous interruptions.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And what was it for you?
Sign me up.
Finally, I will. And what was it that finally made you decide that you were going to start reacting differently? And then the different outcome came in your life. And all of a sudden, now the seed of faith that was planted is now growing into a wonderful flower, into a wonderful tree, whatever you want to say. So that's my passion project. Sure. But the foundation of righteous interruption is RIZE Prevention. It's what fuels RIZE Prevention.
Sure.
It's those interruptions of those kids' lives. Mm-hmm. We are in interruption. When RIZE Prevention goes into a school and they hear our presentation, honey, we are in interruption.
Oh, sure.
In their thought process, in their perception. But now what are you going to do with it?
Right. No, that's true. That's kind of, it's the light breaking into the darkness. I mean, Jesus said in John 10, right, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. And so this whole world is chaos, but then these kids are presented for a brief moment in time with positive and love, and it's like, all right, now you have a choice to make. Correct. Right? And choices like that are all over the scriptures. They're all over the scriptures. It's Isaiah. I mean, it's not Isaiah. It's Elijah, right? And the prophets of Baal. If Baal be God, serve him. But if God be God, serve him, right? Yeah. And sadly, they answered him not a word. Mm-hmm. But like, choose you this day whom you will serve.
That's right.
Over it, it's repeated ad nauseum about choices. So that sounds like a great podcast. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Truth is the truth, no matter your opinion of it.
That's true.
That's it, and that's why the scripture's so powerful, because it's truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Charles Stanley, a very good communicator. I really enjoy Adrian Rogers.
Okay.
You know who that is.
Yes.
I'm sure if you know who CharlesStanley is, you probably know who Adrian Rogers is.
And Tony Evans. I'll say Tony Evans has also been a great influence.
Okay.
In my faith.
A couple other things that I'm just curious about. So, born in Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
Then I guess your parents moved to America, or how did that work?
Well, no, my mom moved me and my sister to America when she decided to divorce my dad.
Okay.
So we were living in between Beirut and the United Arab Emirates. So in Dubai, when it was just a desert.
It wasn't like it is today.
Long ago. So when my mother decided that she was going to get a divorce, we moved back to the United States and moved right to Simpsonville. So I now live right across the street from where I came when I first came back to America.
Okay, so you born in Lebanon, lived in right there by Dubai, and then your mom moved here.
Yeah, my mom's American. My dad's Lebanese.
Oh, I see. Because I was curious when you said moved back. So your mom is from here. Gotcha. Yes. Okay. How old were you when you came here? When your mom moved?
I was 7.
You were 7. All right. But then you went back for 10 years.
When I was in my 20s.
In your 20s. All right. So you've obviously got a lot of experience in the United States and in, the Middle East. So just give us, since we're running short on time here, the Cliff Notes version. Because most Americans have no idea what life is like in the, Arab Emirates, Dubai, Lebanon, versus our cozy United States.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Well, Lebanon is very different from the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates is very rich. Lebanon is not so rich. It's rich in other things. But I will say to you this, is that the Middle Eastern culture prioritizes family. The family unit is so crucial. And they keep that family unit tight no matter what. Nothing ever comes in and breaks that bond. So you're seeing a lot of, there's war, there's instability. So it's like, how do these countries survive? They survive because of the familial relationship and the real ties that bind. It's phenomenal. And then also you've got communities. There is a standard of non-negotiables there.
Yeah.
And those non-negotiables are based on principle that are based on faith, whether that's their Muslim faith, Christian faith. There's 18 different denominations just in Lebanon. But their decisions are made based on their faith.
Mm-hmm.
So those non-negotiables have helped them to survive. There's no compromise.
Yeah. That is, America, with all of its greatness and its wealth and its military prowess and all the things that it's got going for it, the destruction of the nuclear family is the slow decay that is going to kill this country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the extrication of God's authority from almost every facet of our society is the reason why we have what we have today. Mm-hmm. And if you look at other nations who are thriving, they've survived, God is the center. He is the ultimate authority. And that's what you find is the common theme. No matter what the religion is, God and the supreme power and the sovereignty of the Lord. Yeah. That's the commonality.
Sure.
There.
Absolutely. All right. Well, look, this has been super fun. I want to get you out of here on time. But before we go, give me the names of a couple of people I should have on.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Let me think. About some people that have made a difference in my life. And people that I think that would contribute something exceptional to your program.
I should have asked you this ahead of time so you could be ready.
Yes, yes. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think about your show and who would.
That's okay. You can email them to me or shoot me a text whenever they come to mind.
Yes, I will do that because some people may be actually out of state that you could interview. I don't know if you do virtual interviews.
I have.
Yes, let me think about that because I think it's really important that you have some people that can have some great content
Sure.
for your show.
Yeah.
Somebody who I've seen who's loved people well, who's grown a very, very good business for himself, and I think would be able to contribute a lot to your show is Dan Watson. Dan Watson, he runs Cambridge Wealth, and he's got a lot of very interesting partnerships, loves to give back to the community, inspires other people.
Okay.
He's exceptional.
Sweet.
I would definitely recommend him, and
All
I
right.
can certainly give you his contact
I'd
information.
love to have him on.
Yes.
That's what Sunday Afternoon Smokes is all about, is promoting local entrepreneurs, business professionals, and just trying to give them a little bit more of exposure to the upstate.
Yes, and as I think of more, I will definitely email you.
Absolutely. Well, look, one more time, how can people find RIZE?
They can find RIZE on our website, rizeprevention.org. They can email us directly, rizeteam@rizeprevention.org. They can also find us all over Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn.
Everywhere.
Just RIZE Prevention.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, look, if you need my assistance with cigars, a mobile cigar bar for your next event, or you're looking to make a real estate move, reach out to me direct at 864-207-2316. Martine, thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much.
Fun.
It's been a privilege to get to know you and to be on this program.
I had a great time. I appreciate it. Listen, you've been listening to Sunday Afternoon Smoke. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it on your socials, and share it with the world, because Sunday Afternoon Smokes is really sweet.
Fire.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.